Throughout history, the stories of countless women have been lost in the shadows, silenced, overlooked, their voices muted by the prevailing winds of societal norms. But there's a story, a journey that cuts through the noise, a beacon of hope that still shines brightly today. In a time when women were silenced and sidelined, Jesus did something revolutionary. He saw them, spoke to them, and gave them a voice. He recognized their worth, their dignity, their inherent value, at a time when society often chose to look away. This isn't just a story from the past, it's a living testament that continues to shape our world. Join us now as we journey back through time to witness firsthand the moments when Jesus empowered women, challenged the status quo, and redefined the very meaning of respect, honor, and love. These are stories of courage, faith, and transformation, stories that still resonate with a profound power, reminding us that every voice deserves to be heard, every soul deserves compassion, and every heart deserves the chance to experience the love of something far greater than themselves. Imagine the sun beating down on the parched land of Samaria, a lone well standing testament to the relentless heat. A woman, ostracized by her community, approaches, her past a heavy burden she carries with her. This wasn't just a place to gather water, it was a place of social division, where Jews and Samaritans lived in uneasy tension. Yet it's here that Jesus chooses to engage in a conversation, not with a religious leader or a man of power, but with a woman, a Samaritan woman no less, someone ostracized and marginalized. He asks her for a drink, breaking societal norms with a simple request. He speaks to her heart, recognizing her thirst not just for water, but for acceptance, for forgiveness, for something more. He reveals himself as the Messiah, not to a crowd of thousands, but to this one woman, acknowledging her worth and inviting her into a deeper understanding of faith. The crowds press in on Jesus, a sea of faces eager to witness his healing touch. Among them, a woman, her body racked with pain for 12 long years, silently suffers. She's an outcast, deemed ritually unclean by her ailment, but she's driven by desperation and a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, this man can heal her. With a trembling hand, she reaches out, touching the fringe of his garment. In that instant, she's healed. Jesus, feeling the power flow from him, stops, turns, and asks, "Who touched me?" He could have moved on, but instead, he chooses to acknowledge her faith, to draw her out from the shadows, to publicly affirm her healing. In that moment, he restores not just her health, but her dignity, her place in a society that had cast her aside. The air crackles with tension as the scribes and Pharisees drag a woman before Jesus, her sin evident, her shame palpable. "Teacher," they proclaim, "this woman was caught in adultery, in the very act. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what do you say?" They were ready to condemn, to cast the first stone, using the law as a weapon to exert their authority and control. But Jesus, with a quiet wisdom that defied their expectations, bends down and begins to write on the ground. He doesn't engage in their accusations, their thirst for judgment. Instead, he challenges them with a simple yet profound statement. "Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her." The clamor of the temple courtyard fades as Jesus observes people dropping their offerings into the temple treasury. Wealthy individuals ostentatiously donate large sums, their piety on full display. But then a widow approaches, her face etched with hardship, her clothes threadbare. In her hands she clutches 2 small copper coins, a pittance, the very last of her livelihood. Without hesitation, she drops them into the offering box. Jesus, witnessing this act of selfless generosity, turns to his disciples and says, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box." He doesn't praise the amount, but the heart, the sacrifice behind the gift. He elevates her act of faith above the grand gestures of the wealthy, reminding us that true generosity isn't measured in material wealth, but in the depth of one's love and devotion. Jairus, a synagogue leader, falls at Jesus' feet, his voice choked with desperation. His daughter, his little girl, is dying. He pleads with Jesus to come and heal her. As they make their way to Jairus' home, a messenger arrives with heartbreaking news. "Your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher any further." But Jesus ignores the messenger's words, turning to Jairus with a look of compassion and says, "Do not fear, only believe." When they arrive at the house, they're met with the sounds of mourning. Jesus, undeterred, enters the girl's room, taking her by the hand, and with a gentle command says, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." And in that moment, life returns to her body and she gets up as if awakened from a deep sleep. Jesus, in his infinite wisdom, chose to perform this miracle through the faith of her father and demonstrated the power of belief in overcoming even the grip of death itself. The Sabbath day, a day of rest, a day of worship. Jesus is teaching in the synagogue when he notices a woman bent over for 18 long years, unable to stand up straight. She's been bound by this ailment, her body crippled, her spirit crushed. Jesus calls her forward, his voice filled with compassion, and says, "Woman, you are freed from your infirmity." He lays his hands on her and instantly she straightens up, glorifying God. This simple act of healing sparks outrage among the religious leaders. They're more concerned with the supposed violation of the Sabbath than with the woman's suffering. But Jesus, in his righteous anger, rebukes them, reminding them that even animals are shown compassion on the Sabbath. How much more so a daughter of Abraham? The aroma of perfume fills the air as Mary of Bethany kneels before Jesus, her heart overflowing with love and devotion. In her hands, she holds an alabaster jar filled with expensive nard, a fragrant oil worth a year's wages. With trembling hands, she breaks open the jar and pours the precious oil over Jesus' feet, wiping them with her hair. The disciples are indignant, appalled by this extravagant display. "Why this waste?" they exclaim. "This perfume could have been sold at a high price and the money given to the poor." But Jesus, understanding the depths of Mary's heart, silences their criticism. "Leave her alone," he says. "She has done a beautiful thing to me. She has poured this perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial." In that moment, Jesus elevates Mary's act of love and devotion above the pragmatic concerns of the disciples. He recognizes her profound understanding of his sacrifice, her willingness to honor him in a way that transcended material wealth or social expectations. The world is shrouded in darkness, the weight of grief heavy in the air. Mary Magdalene, her heart shattered, stands weeping outside Jesus' tomb. She'd witnessed his crucifixion, his brutal death on the cross. Now all that remained was an empty tomb, a symbol of her loss and despair. As she weeps, she bends over to look into the tomb and sees 2 angels in white, seated where Jesus' body had lain. "Woman, why are you weeping?" they ask. Through her tears she replies, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Turning around, she sees Jesus standing there, but she doesn't recognize him. He asks her again, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" Thinking he's the gardener, she pleads with him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And then Jesus speaks her name, Mary. In that instant, recognition dawns on her face. "Rabboni," she cries out, which means teacher. She reaches out for him, but Jesus says, "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene, overcome with joy and awe, runs to tell the disciples the incredible news, "I have seen the Lord." Jesus, in his resurrected glory, chose a woman who had been forgiven much, to be the first witness to his resurrection, to proclaim the good news that death had been conquered and hope had been reborn. The familiar sounds of hospitality fill the air as Jesus and his disciples are welcomed into the home of Martha and Mary. Martha, ever the diligent host, bustles about, eager to serve her guests. Mary, however, sits at Jesus' feet, captivated by his every word. Martha, feeling overwhelmed and perhaps a little resentful, approaches Jesus and says, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me." Jesus, in his gentle wisdom, replies, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion which will not be taken away from her." In this simple exchange, Jesus teaches a profound lesson about priorities. He gently reminds Martha that while serving others is important, sitting at the feet of the Master, listening to his teachings, nurturing one's soul, is the greatest priority of all. A desperate cry for help pierces the air as a Canaanite woman approaches Jesus. She's not Jewish, she's an outsider, someone from a different culture, a different faith. Yet she's driven by a mother's love for her daughter, who is tormented by a demon. She falls at Jesus' feet and begs him to heal her child. At first, Jesus remains silent, seemingly unmoved by her pleas. His disciples, perhaps uncomfortable with her persistence, urge him to send her away. But the woman persists, her faith unwavering. Finally, Jesus turns to her and says, "It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." The woman, quick-witted and full of faith, replies, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Jesus, impressed by her unwavering faith, her humility, her recognition of his authority, says to her, "Woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire." And at that very moment her daughter is healed. Jesus, in his infinite mercy, demonstrates that faith knows no bounds, no cultural or religious barriers. He rewards the Canaanite woman's unwavering belief, her persistence, her refusal to be denied, with a miracle that transcends all human limitations. These stories, these powerful encounters between Jesus and women, continue to echo through the ages, challenging us to confront our own biases, to champion the marginalized, to recognize the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. They remind us that the power of faith, the courage to challenge the status quo, and the unwavering pursuit of justice and equality are not bound by time or tradition. As we reflect on how these moments still shape faith and gender equality today, let us be inspired by the women who dared to believe, who dared to challenge, who dared to love and serve in extraordinary ways. May their stories ignite within us a passion for a more just and compassionate world, where every voice is heard, every person valued, and every heart touched by the transformative power of faith.